Now today on the show, I'm going to share with you why I don't train like most runners. My running journey really started somewhere around 2020. I really started getting the idea in my head that maybe I should try and run a marathon. Even though when I was 4 years old, I was told that I would never be a runner and I would never be a soccer player. For whatever reason, 26 years later, I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to run a marathon. Well, at the time, I didn't even like to run. I loved high-intensity interval training classes. I loved doing yoga, and I was lifting at the time. But I did start integrating a long run every single week. And even though that was really the main run I was doing every single week, I was training with a friend of mine, and we would do that long run together. And he was running throughout the week. I wasn't. But when we did the long run together, I was able to run 10 miles with no issues. This made me start thinking that if I continued to do HIIT workouts throughout the week, I could probably just get away with doing the long run and complete a marathon. Well, we ended up bailing on the marathon because 2020 happened, but a year later, I decided to run my own self-made marathon. And at the time, I was running, but I was also doing HIIT classes, I was also lifting, and I was doing yoga. So this is how I did things forever. Back in 2024, I ran my first 100K, and with this strategy, I was able to win it. Well, fast forward to 2025, I was like, well, you know what? If I'm going to become an even faster runner, I should probably double down on running. So what did I do? I cut everything else out, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran, and I ran. And ultimately, I went from 27th out of 100 people to 10th out of 100 people to saying, I'm done with this. There's no way that I'm going to stay out there and run for the next 8 hours at night. I'm done. I'm going home. You know why this happened? Because I burned myself out. I ran too many miles. My body lost all the benefits of these other things. Here's what happens when you just run. The problem with just running. Running is very good for you. Humans, when we first stood upright, would run down our prey. We weren't faster than them, but we could run longer than them, and eventually they would have to stop running, and then we would eat our meat. But there is a problem with just running. Think about it from that perspective even. If the first humans just ran but didn't have any strength or abilities to actually take the animal and do something with it, then running would have meant nothing. For about 6 months, all I did was run. I was running 80 to 100 miles a week for at least a couple months. And before that, it was like 60-mile weeks leading up to that. That's all I was doing. I lost my upper body strength, which you would think wouldn't be that big of a deal when it comes to running or ultra running. And yes, a lot of ultra runners are very small people. But for me, my competitive advantage has always been my strength, my resilience, my ability to carry a pack that has all of my nutrition in it and for it to not bother me after 20 miles. I lost my upper body strength. The other thing is my feet, my knees, my back were all in pain. My plantar fasciitis just wasn't going away in my left heel. My right and left knee were both starting to hurt. My quads were getting tight. My glutes weren't strong enough. Same with my back. My back was compensating because my glutes weren't strong enough. All this was in pain because all I was doing was running. So I was losing all this muscle. Or I was losing the right kind of muscle. I wasn't engaging the right muscles while running. My heart and body weren't trained for high intensity. No matter how you look at it, even if you're running 100 miles and staying in zone 2 the whole time, at some point it's going to be intense and your body's going to need to be ready for that intensity. Well, I thought that just running more miles would prepare me. But by integrating high intensity into my life, into my workouts, into my running training, I'm training my heart and my body to be okay when things become intense. But when you just run, even if you're doing tempo work in your runs, I'm sorry, but tempo work isn't going to get your heart rate as high as doing 100 burpees in a row is. Very important to focus on intensity. The next one, my mind wasn't trained for overcoming pain. It just wasn't. You can run for hours and hours and you might get bored, but eventually you're just going to be like, yeah, you know, I mean, this is just mindless. So when pain hits, even 20 miles in, if the mind isn't used to dealing with pain because of high intensity lifting, different pains in the body, cramp in different areas, shoulders, neck, everything is going to get sore at some point in an ultra race. You need to train your mind. And the last thing is my energy dipped significantly. This is just in my life. And yeah, this did come out in my running and racing. My energy was just lower because the benefits you get from lifting, from doing high intensity interval training, really impacts your energy levels in a very positive way for a lot of different chemical reasons in your body. So after having this experience, I have decided to do what has helped me in the past, but more systematically. Here's what I do. Yes, I still run. Running is the bedrock of becoming an ultra marathon winner. Now I focus on quality instead of quantity. I still have to get a lot of miles in, but I focus on getting quality miles. Instead of focusing on being on my feet for a long time, I focus on how can I get quality runs in every week? How can I do them faster? How can I make sure that when I'm running on a body that is rested, that is engaging the right muscles, protecting itself? Right now, I'm running every single day, 2 to 5 miles a day. I'm running 14 to 35 miles a week. When I decide to train for a race again, I'll keep my cadence and I'll increase my mileage, but I want to make sure I have time for HIIT. Doing HIIT 1 to 2 times a week. I have seen amazing benefits from doing this. I've seen my miles become easier. I've seen my body become more resilient. I'm starting to get my strength back. Doing HIIT 1 to 2 days a week has been amazing. I'm also lifting. And this is the first time since high school that I am lifting consistently 2 to 3 times per week. And I'm not even doing it for very long. This is like a 20 to 30 minute session 2 to 3 times a week. But I'm getting stronger. I'm feeling my injuries go away. My knees are getting healthier. My plantar fasciitis is going away. Everything is becoming stronger because of lifting. I'm preventing injuries. And then the last thing is yoga. And yes, I was teaching yoga once a week leading up to this race. But now I am integrating yoga and stretching daily. I'm still teaching once a week, but I'm also stretching daily. And it's not even that long. It's 5 minutes a day. This is my comprehensive training program. As a runner, I invite you to do the same. So if you're running already, how can you start integrating these other things? Well, let's say that you are training for a marathon. Well, when you're marathon training, you're looking at somewhere between 30 and 40 miles being your peak week. So what I recommend you do is you can decrease your overall mileage that you are doing for training by 10%, maybe all the way up to 20%, really depends on how you're feeling, but you can decrease it by 10 to 20%. Don't touch your long runs. You're gonna decrease your weekly mileage by 10 to 20%, but keep your long run untouched. So decrease these things, and then what you're gonna do is integrate HIIT once a week, lifting once a week, and yoga once a week. So you decrease your total mileage by 10 to 20%, keep your long run the same, and then do HIIT once a week, lifting, and yoga once a week. Or really, I want you to integrate 30 minutes of yoga into your week. So this could be spread out to 5 minutes a day. And I'm not saying that if you're already looking, yeah, I'm already stretching and doing a little yoga. I'm saying you should be doing an additional 30 minutes of yoga and stretching per week. With these, lift, 1 30-minute session a week, do HIIT, 1 30-minute session a week, or you can break it down into a couple 15-minute sessions. But really, if you can add 30 minutes of lifting, 30 minutes of yoga, and 30 minutes of HIIT into your weekly routine, then really decrease your mileage by 10, maybe 20%, especially if you want to up these even more, then you'll be good to go. If you want to take this further, I have my 3 pillars of healthy living guide: movement, tracking, and accountability. You can start integrating this guide into your life in a couple of minutes, and you can grab the guide linked in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, or in the show notes if you're listening to this as a podcast. Or go to www.athletewithasthma.com/healthy-living-guide to grab your free copy today. I'll see you in the next episode.